Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart. Today, we're going to dive right in. We're going to talk about NAD+, what I think are the benefits, but really what I think you should be doing instead of NAD+. The reason I'm bringing this podcast to you today about this particular topic is I get asked this question all the time. NAD+ is very popular on the internet, especially like Instagram and a lot of these big, workshops and seminars, and I talk about these big IVs and all of these other things wrapped around NAD+. I'm going to share a little bit of my insights on that, clinically, my thoughts on the actual what it does not do for us, then also what I think are probably better options for what most people are looking for. So again, thanks for being here. Keep doing the thing, keep sharing out, keep spreading love. All right, so let's talk about NAD+. And it's not brand new. We're a couple of years now. NAD has been very popular, especially in the longevity and the anti-aging world. The emphasis is that NAD, in theory, is going to help us with anti-aging. The mode of action fundamentally is a result of helping the mitochondria increase more ATP. Fundamentally, that's it. I'm missing a lot of steps in between there, but fundamentally, that's it. NAD helping us improve mitochondrial function. Mitochondria is where the Krebs cycle is. Krebs cycle is what produces ATP. All right. So with that being said, here's the challenge. Like many of you listening to this, including myself, we have gone and got our very expensive, very long, kind of pain in the ass type of things to do, sit down and got an IV NAD. We've done this once, twice, 10 times, whatever it may be. Spent a fair amount of money. And the most common thing I get is, Doc, I didn't notice anything. Now, my first disclaimer is this. Not everything we do are you going to notice, wow, I was awful and now I'm great. And the majority of things that we do are not going to be that way because like you and me, most of us that are listening to this, you're starting to kind of stack up your wins. You're eating a little better. You're exercising a little better. You're sleeping a little bit better. You're drinking more water, getting electrolytes. And as you stack up your wins like that, it's very rare that you're going to find one thing that moves the needle massively. Yet the challenge here with NAD is that people rarely notice anything. So I get the question all the time, Doc, what do you think about NAD? So when it came out on the scene, it came out big time. It was almost like a new discovery. And frankly, I didn't really look at it as something that we utilized or really knew where it fit into the whole world of supplementation or monitoring, et cetera. So when it first came out, it sounded great to me. And as many of you know, I'm all for it. If there's something that gives me an opportunity to play at a higher level, to be the best version of Bart, I'm all in. Let's do it. And oftentimes I'll spend some money. Like my investment is me. And I think many of you understand that and you play in that same kind of arena as I do. So with that being said, I went out, did some IVs and spent a fair amount of time and money on it and didn't really notice any difference. But that doesn't discourage me. Yet as this data and the science started coming out, we started to recognize that NAD by itself wasn't necessarily hugely bioavailable. And folks, if you don't care about NAD, hang in there because I'm going to get you to what I really think it'd be better off for you. And this is something you've heard about for long periods of time, and I think we're just overlooking it. And then what happened is I started doing a little bit more deeper research because it just wasn't really convenient for me to send my clients, my patients out to get an IV that might take 2 hours and maybe not notice too much of a difference. Sometimes get a little lightheaded during it. So it just really wasn't a lifestyle, life-sustaining type action for many. So, and then the data came out that maybe NAD by itself, whether it be injected or through supplement, was not that bioavailable. Shortly after that, though, they did come out with a product that you can take every day, just put a little bit of scoop underneath your tongue, called NMN. And that they found, which is a precursor to NAD, actually they found that is probably more effective than taking straight up NAD in helping the mitochondria. So with that being said, yes, that is something I take every day. It's just literally, it's a baby scoop right before my cup of coffee in the morning, right before I go to bed. For what it's worth, I'll put it in the show notes here today. So I do use that. Do I notice not much? No. It does not mean it's not working though, because same thing, like I don't take magnesium and all of a sudden like, I feel like I'm tired or anything like that. No, I see the overall function of taking all these supplements, all these good habits. As we collect good habits, as we collect good patterns, as we collect these good disciplines over time, then we get to measure in reverse and we look, things are working out in my direction, in my favor, and I'll continue to do these. Maybe I'll add some, maybe I'll get rid of some. And folks, that in a nutshell, that's the practice of healthcare. With that being said, So put aside for a moment the conversation about NAD and NMN, and let's talk about something else that I think is probably really what we're looking for. And that is something that helps the mitochondria, meaning that it can actually protect the mitochondria, something called silymarin. Most of you know this by the name of milk thistle. Milk thistle, to me, is still one of the most underutilized herbs that we could be used. Let me explain to you why. So many people understand milk thistle works for detoxification, but what a lot of people forget is this. Milk thistle is actually a precursor to helping us make things like glutathione. Glutathione is the major antioxidant of the entire body. Unfortunately, we have limited supplies or limited capability of how quickly we can make it. So the goal here is how can we stop running out of it and make it as quickly as possible. Milk thistle helps both of those. Milk thistle will help your liver detox. And one of my absolute favorite things about milk thistle is that it is considered tropho-restorative. Folks, and listen to this from tropho-restorative herbs, and there's not many of them, but there are a handful or so tropho-restorative herbs, meaning this. If the liver has damaged cells, and folks, we see a lot of it, and I'll mention the markers in just a moment here. We see a lot of liver damaged cells. We see those in the markers like ALT, AST. We see a lot of fatty liver. I see fatty liver in children. I see them in teenagers. We're seeing it more and more because there's so many chemicals out there. The beauty of milk thistle, it has the ability to repair damaged cells. So listen, maybe your history is like mine and you didn't necessarily treat your liver, your body that good. Maybe you beat the tar out of it for decades, not just a week or a month. Maybe for years and years you drank alcohol, whatever it may be. Folks, that's where milk thistle probably plays its biggest success. A steady dose of daily milk thistle is going to help you detox and restore damaged liver cells. I'm going to go a step farther here because often I think what we're looking for when we see and hear a lot about these anti-aging things like NAD, and again, I'm not discouraging you against it, but I get the question so frequently, Doc, what do you think about it? And I usually tell them this, that I don't think that it's a very convenient or bioavailable, effective way to get it into the body. If you want those benefits of NAD, the precursor seems to be a better bet called NMN. There's a couple companies that make a good product. And again, I'll put in the show notes here today. But even before that, I would tell you overall, if you're looking for help, your body to activate, looking for some words here, to activate detoxification pathways, milk thistle, especially in the liver, may be one of the best. And the silymarin itself protects the liver. So it increases ATP production in the liver. Folks, that is what we're looking for. We're looking for that production of ATP. That ATP is the powerhouse. That is a fuel that our body uses. And if we can improve or increase the production of ATP in the liver, that might be one of the single most effective things we can do when it comes to overall restoring our body's health or helping us in this anti-aging game that we're playing here. So helping us enhance ATP production in the actual liver, detoxify, and restore potentially damaged cells in the liver, milk thistle is the king. And I think maybe we've just forgotten about it because we're so kind of, lured into the new, the greatest, this one thing that must be no one's ever discovered before. And this must be the thing that, fixes everything. So I want to go back just a little bit here too. So in labs, I'll give you another example when it comes to clinical use of things like NAD and milk thistle or other products like it. I don't know many functional nutrition practitioners, and I'm probably going to take a beat down for this, but I don't know many functional medicine practitioners that use NAD as a recommended therapy. It's usually like an add-on. It is like, oh yeah, and if you want something else and this is good for anti-aging, grab onto this. Yet we use milk thistle all the time. If you see fatty liver disease, your first go-to, probably for 98% of the functional med docs out here, they're going to say milk thistle, hands down, because it is the single most effective. So if we see things like elevated ALT levels, elevated AST levels, we know that there's potential for fatty liver there. Or if it comes along with the symptoms of things like burping and gas, especially those two, we know that usually there's some congestion also taking place in the gallbladder. And in those scenarios, we will use milk thistle. And then for me, we also add another supplement from Standard Process called AF Beta Food. And I'm mentioning these because Often we're looking for things to help detoxify the body and move things through. And if you detoxify better, that fundamentally is what's going to elevate your energy in the body. If your mitochondria, this is where the rubber hits the road here. If the mitochondria is constantly fighting off and blocking out toxins, it doesn't get an opportunity to make ATP the way it's supposed to. ATP is the energy for the human body. So we're looking for the potential for our mitochondria to be uninhibited of all these different toxins. So if we can get this stuff out and then let the body do its job by giving them all the right nutrients, that's our best opportunity to have boundless amounts of energy every day. Just quick shout down memory lane here, folks. Remember, we've got over 30 trillion cells in the human body. Every single one of those cells has mitochondria in it, which means it has a Krebs cycle in it. It means you have 30 trillion cells that are capable of making ATP. Folks, you should never run out of energy. And if you do, it means one of three things. You're either tired, you're just not getting enough sleep, or you're toxic and you're blocking things, or you're nutrient deficient. You're literally not putting the nutrients in that your body needs in order to make the ATP. So with that being said, that little nuance right there. So typically, clinically, NAD is not my first go-to. So this answers a lot of the questions a lot of people have for me. Is it something that I use on a regular basis? I do use NMN in my personal life, and I recommend it for my folks. And then most likely when it comes to detoxification, for enhancing the body's ability to function at a higher level, Milk Thistle is a go-to. It's very simple, couple tablets a day. The one I mentioned briefly there, AF beta food. If you have burping, if you have belching, almost always it's going to be some congestion in the bile ducts between the liver and the gallbladder. So flushing that out usually for about 30 days, you high dose in this stuff called AF beta food. It's a derivative of beets, and it thins out the bile and things move much better, especially if you have things like constipation that goes along with that. So a phenomenal product. I'll make sure all these are in the show notes below. But let me end on this. All of these things that we're talking about, all of them will depend and be significantly either impaired or enhanced by your diet. That's right. Still 70% of your overall health, the way that you walk around this earth, talk, how you experience life, is going to come down to what you put into your body, your nutrients and your supplements. So just think of whether it be your diet or your supplements, think of all the nutrients and all the toxins that go into your body. 70% of how you experience life is going to come down to that. The other 30%, that's going to be your sleep. That is going to be your hot and cold plunges. That's going to be your exercise. That's going to be all of the other things we talk about and spend so much energy on. Yet your diet is always going to be the king. So if you're putting toxins in your body, no matter how much NAD you take, no matter how much Milk Thistle you take, if you're constantly just drowning your body in toxins and things that just don't belong there, you're just making it hard on yourself. So yes, you can double and triple down, and all your NAD and all your Milk Thistle and all your AF beta foods sure can. But you don't need to do it that way. There's easier ways. All right, folks, with that being said, keep doing anything. Keep sharing it out. Keep spreading the love. Continue to raise your bar and make sure that you are taking deliberate action for your mind, your body, your overall wellness. God be awesome.